Now, over the years, there's been a lack of equality and transparency in the compensation and negotiation processes within the creative art agencies in Nigeria. Most creatives, especially females and new entrants, are never informed of what a role pays and what a fair salary is. A tactic that is often to the advantage of the human resource department of the art agency. If advertising creatives prefer solutions for other industries, who comes up with the solution to fix the problems within the advertising industry? To this end, two Nigerian creatives on Nigeria's independence, they decided to launch Black Box, a 100% anonymously crowdsourced agency salary database for Nigerian creatives. Co-founder of the agency, Ayotunde, Ishola, joins us. I want to say thank you very much for joining us here on Newsday.
Thank you very much, and thank you most importantly for having me.
You seem to be taking on an industry that needs change. And when you start talking about salaries, fair salaries, when you start talking about creating a database, you will be stepping on toes, because I know this thing closely well. And they say it's a dog-eat-dog world, and they like to take advantage of newcomers, newbies in the industry. We are trying to break that glass ceiling. Talk to us about it. Before I get into some interesting questions, talk to us about this journey.
So what I would say in terms of, stepping on toes is whether we like it or not, right? The so-called the leaders that we have today in our industry were once new entrants, right? Mm-hmm. And the problem that we are solving today, if they had that sort of solution then, they would have had a better form of entry, right? If this is not done now, then it means even my colleagues that have gone ahead to start their own agencies, we will sort of like continue in the same circle, or better put, the same box, right? And that is exactly what we're here to break.
All right.
And yes, definitely stepping on toes, but something that's necessary. I also particularly commend the fact that you included the females in there, because it is not to make light of the situation, but it seems like women have a harder time negotiating when it comes to these kinds of situations, and they seem to be left out of the game. How easy was it to get people honestly talk about their salaries and collate all of this data? And how are you able to verify that they are telling the truth about how much they earn?
Okay, so first of all, they say the best place to start from is where you are, and where we are currently is home, and home is advertising, if you get my context right. Mm-hmm. So yes, people need to put in the data, right? And the data has to be right. The good thing about where we are starting from is we understand what the sort of schematics is, for the industry. So if right now we are not concentrating on if the data is false or if the data is 100% right, because in the first case, what we requested for were data within a certain range. So we are not asking that you put in your, let's say, 543,223 naira. If you put 500,000, it's clear, because all we want is for that next new entrant to know that, asides my passion, or asides the fact that I just want to see my work on the billboard, or I want to see my work on TV, this is the alert my passion should be bringing in, right? And if I have a 500,000 instead of a 534,000 and so on, I still have an idea of what to tell the HR. Because when you get to sit in front of the HR, all the HR has to tell you is you get to work with the people you really want to work with. Do you know your work will actually get on the billboard? This girl got in this agency last week and now she's shooting a TVC, and this story will be used in blanketing the main purpose, which is also the food you're trying to put on the table. And then we ask ourselves some question, where are these, or where is this love that we had when we wanted to start these jobs? Some of us couldn't sleep when we heard an agency is calling us for an interview. But immediately we've spent a year or two, we begin to ask ourselves, am I in the right career? In short, myself and my friends, we say, if our child mistakenly says A, we don't want to know if it's for Apple or for Anambra. Because A has something to do with advertising, we say, don't mention that letter. Why? Because we've been in the industry and we've seen that aside passion, the industry sort of tends to milk your functional, your efficient, and your very, very energy, based years. And then when you are now 35, they get to employ a newbie, into your position, and then you now ask yourself, okay, I have all these billboards, I have all these awards, I've been in multiple, jury. What do I have in my bank account?
All right, okay, let's talk about this, because are you widening this particular database to creatives generally? The reason why I say so is, first of all, do you have a comparative analysis being done on how much creatives in other countries are earning? And what are you doing to probably create the awareness? Because when bank IT staffs found out that if they go to the US or they go to Canada, for example, for the same job they're doing, they might even work lesser hours. They will get 5x of what they're earning right now. Majority of them started jumping ship. So are you trying to almost bridge that particular gap to make people know that this is how much you are worth when in terms of the global market as against just Nigeria alone?
Okay, so I'll take that question in two steps. And the second answer is going to sort of like answer the first one.
Okay.
So in terms of if we are looking at the bigger picture, right? Because if we are looking at solving the local problem, then definitely the next step is going to be the international problem. For the local problem, if we can solve at least, first of all, you understanding what's the role, where you are, still in Lagos or still in Nigeria, if you understand what the role pays before you go to meet the HR, firstly, at that point in time, you get what you deserve. Because there's a saying, you don't get paid what you're worth, you're paid what you negotiate for, right? And after you've done that, then the next step will now be, oh, this is what my colleagues are earning outside the country. And why I would even say that is a little bit like, let's say step 4 right now is, we have people that are earning the same thing in the span of 10 years or even like 7 years. Because you are in advertising and your youthful days, your experimental days are going off. Most of us, when we got into advertising, were single. We're still young. There was this factors that got us to really, really love advertising. One of it is freedom of expression, where you can carry your dreadlocks, walk into the agency. Oh, I'm a copywriter, I'm an art director, I'm not wearing shoes, sort of like I told you to our parents, I don't have to suit on, to make my salary. We do that and we don't check how much we are making. And the HR system or the industry system tends to prey on our hunger to express ourselves or our hunger to do creative things. And at the end of the day, they don't remind us that we are forgetting an important topic, which is how much this is bringing on. So we'll definitely get to the international ground. But again, the best place to start is home.
And yes, once again, commending what you've done. I'm just thinking back on my own years, having worked in the advertising agency too, and like how useful would this have been back in my days? But that aside, speaking about women and they're sort of not the strongest in negotiating their salaries. But that aside, we also know that men and women, there is a big pay discrepancy for the same job. In your analysis of the data that you have seen, is this the case? And I want to go a step further, because if it is the case, when women or men find that they're being paid less, Is there some kind of counseling service you can offer in order for them to approach their employer or their HR to have better negotiating skills? Because that might be the whole 360 of this data. Because it's one thing to know that there's discrepancies, but how are you going to help the individuals get confidence to, or give them tips as to how to correct whatever problem they might have gotten themselves into in terms of salary?
Okay. First of all, I'll answer your first question, which is the discrepancy. The gap is wide. 100% white.
With the male and female
yes,
doing the same job.
And even if you look at the roles, the number of female art directors are like, let's say 2 in 40. And because, and I don't know if it's perception, men can stay long hours. Back in my days, we sleep over at the agency because we have a pitch the next day. So I think maybe part of the factors that were used to judge this were who will I be comfortable to
be around all the time.
Yes, to be around all the time. But I think that is not an excuse. Because whether you sleep over or you spend 5 minutes, the work that you've done should be the judge of everything, right? So I would say it's not about us telling them, oh, go and meet your employer and tell them I deserve this. The joy that we have and the benefit of advertising generally is we can see the result of our work within a twinkle of an eye. If I do a billboard, once it's approved and the client loves it, I'll see it to the billboard the next day. So it's easy for me to gather my portfolio and tell my HR or my creative director or my line manager, I'm leaving. And when I tell them I'm leaving, the biggest fear we always fear when we are leaving is, I hope I'm not being taken advantage of in the next place I'm going. And that's what now leads or makes you ask a colleague in that agency, I'm coming in as a senior copywriter. You are a senior copywriter. How much do you earn currently? Because of the cultural nuances in our environment, we don't usually open the books of our livelihood to people because I don't want you to know how much I'm earning, so you don't negotiate for something higher. And the way HR works. Once your payment is going too high and we really want you, instead of giving you the money that is just high, we just push your position up a little bit. So if I tell you the truth, there's a high probability that you come in and be my boss. Right? And that is the reason why most of us in the industry, we don't even tell people, what they should expect or what they should see themselves earning. So in terms of the 360 approach, what I would say is once you have the ability and the boldness to move from where you are to the next agency and the right figure to put yourself. If you are moving from a small shop agency to a big network, definitely we are not talking of the same figures that you'll be talking about when you are moving to a small agency, right? So we don't want to have a general figure that sort of lumps everything in a box, and then you go to a global agency and price yourself, short.
All right. How are the power brokers receiving this? Because it's one thing to do this. We know that the men that control this industry, they're just a handful. And what they do will go a long way to determine how successful you are. Perseverance might push you through ultimately, but if you can, the acceptance in the immediate is determined or is actually hinged on the fact that these men probably buy into what you're selling right now. So how have they received it?
Okay, so we are not concentrating on them or how they receive it. We are concentrating on the creatives. The platform is crowdsourced. I would say for us by us, but let me just put it this way: for creatives by the creatives, right? So I'm not really interested if the owner of the agency knows about this. And if they know, it depends on how they tend to use the tool that we've provided. Some of my colleagues who have started agencies, when they called myself and my co-founder, Ayotunde, the first thing they said was, this is right here in the jugular. But what we see is it has helped us to see what the prevailing sort of like salary rate is. And now we are like just like 50,000 short from the highest paying agency. You know, so now they can actually hit their chest and say, we are small, but you won't get this money we are about to pay you in other agency. You know, so the information is there. It depends on how people decide to use that information. Then in terms of how the creatives tend to use this information, it will be shocking to you to let you know that 1 week after we debuted, October 1st, we got 100 salaries. It's like, you know, you intend to solve a problem, but when people come to you and respond on WhatsApp personally because they know you as the face, you know, of this initiative, and they say, this industry blesses you. You know, that is not a comment from, it's not shallow, it's deep. Because I had one of my bosses, he said, if this was available in my days, I wouldn't have been in what I'm in right now. Because he asked his own friend. His friend told him, don't come to this agency. You know, when that was the only choice, his friend told him a lower salary. He went to the HR, walking tall, told the HR, this is how much I want to earn. And the HR was like, okay, but you know you have to work on extra accounts. He was like, yes, because he thought that was the holy grail of, you know, salaries. Not knowing that he's way shorter than what he's meant to be earning. 2 years, 3 years down the line, they promoted him to what he should have been earning 3 years ago.
Shame. Well, you know, you have to be careful who you call friends these days.
True.
But Ayotunde, we have so many more questions for you, but we have run out of time. Thank you so much for coming in and sharing all of this information with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
And all the best with Black Box.